Hey everyone, so sorry that I forgot to Slack out the review video before lunch. I've Slacked out the link to that now, and if you want to keep watching that, feel free to keep watching it. I also wanted to live code a solution, especially because I think there might be more questions than the time we have allotted for questions. And this is also going to be recorded, and I'll put the video in your library, so you can decide if you would prefer to focus on this now or focus on the review video now. Anything you want me to touch on before we start? Yeah.
I got up to the last function in exercise 1.
Okay.
And yeah, just kind of understanding how to get the promise to stop executing, if it hits an error.
Oh yeah, so, and that's this one, right?
Yes, and then, or no, F, problem F.
Home on stanza 4 or an error if it occurs. Okay, so basically how to deal with errors. Okay. Okay, oh, problem F, sorry. Oh, this is the one where you've got two things chained up.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll definitely look at this one.
Also, I didn't make it to the second exercise, but I was in there and I was async and 8.
It's not.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah. I mean, you can use async and await for any of these, and actually I'll try and code up at least some of them using, so. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll just start walking through these, and if you want me to explain something more deeply, just stop me. Okay, so we've got some boilerplate garbage here. Okay, problem A. Should log the first stanza. So the promise version probably all got, oh, let's, promisified read file is the name of this thing. That is crazy. I'm gonna call it read. Actually, I'll just read, there we go. Because then I don't have to type promisified read file 5,000 times. Yeah. Is it streaming the correct thing, though? Oh, it's on the wrong display, you're right. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so we now have, so I just renamed that function to be read, which will be a little bit easier. And so now we just want to read this file and log it with blue, I guess. So I can just say read poem1, then blue. Do I have to un-X? I do, don't I? Okay, it logs the first stanza. Okay, great. I'm gonna... Oh, no, I'm not. That'll be long. Well, maybe. Sure, let's see. No, that's too much output. It's like, I'll just un-X all of these and watch them all fail. No, that's too much. Okay, so for a simple promise, we read it and then do the, send it to the function that is going to receive it, in this case, blue, which prints it. Next problem, it logs the second and third stanzas in any order. So we can do the same thing. Read this, then blue. Read stanza 3, then blue. Yeah. Right, so why don't I have to do this? Stanza, blue, stanza. I kind of am doing that. So then takes a single parameter, well, it takes two parameters, but then's parameter is a function, right? So I can either write a function right here, as I've done. Like another way of writing this would be to completely blow it out. Or if I have a reference to a function, like I could, for example, I could take this and put it in a variable, and then just put the variable there. Right, because a function is just an object that I'm passing in as a parameter. If I am actually passing in like some source that says function and has parameters, you can think of it as I'm passing in a function literal. Or I can just pass in a reference to a function, which also works. And if I'm going to do this, then blue actually is already a reference to a function that does what blue does. So the stanza comes in. This is like how promises work, right? Is whatever data this promise resolves as, this callback is going to get called with. So blue gets called with the content. Okay, and if I wanted to do this with async await, I could do something pretty similar. And actually just say blue await read, and then this. And then that. What's that? Can I like only await a promise? Actually, no. You can await things that are not promises, but it doesn't do anything to them, right? It basically wraps it in a promise and then resolves the promise immediately, which is sometimes nice because it means that you can await something that may be a promise, and it like makes it consistent. It'll always be a promise thereafter. So to be totally clear, these are doing subtly different things. This code issues both reads immediately, and whenever they finish, they get printed. So this will sometimes log stanza 2 first, and sometimes log stanza 3 first. This one always logs stanza 2 and then stanza 3 because we're awaiting the completion of this thing first. So this is actually stricter than this, and maybe not what we want. If we wanted to use async and await to do, if we wanted to use async await, but we wanted to fetch the, like issue the reads simultaneously, then we could do this. Which will still guarantee that they're printed in order, but now the reads will happen in parallel. Because we issued this one and we're not awaiting it before we issue this one. So for this problem, I actually think chaining with then is better, because if we don't care about the order, then this basically gives us 2 completely parallel pipes. But for later problems, we're going to find this to be useful. We're going to find async await to be useful. Okay. Any questions about that before we move on? All right, so problem C logs the second and then the third stanza. Oh, hey, that's where it's useful. So if I just do it with promises, I would say read poem 1 stanza 02. Then blue, then read poem 1 stanza 3, then blue. I think. No, what did I do? Oh, dot text. Haha. Let's see. So this says read and log poem 1 stanza 2, and then read and log stanza 3. So this is correctly what we've been asked to do. We are reading this and then printing it, and then after it's been printed, we issue a read to poem 1 stanza 3. If I wanted to do this with async and await, I think it's a little bit easier. In fact, it's basically this code up here. Which one?
Where you said ban blue, ban empty parentheses. Is that because it's automatically referring to the read function?
Oh, so this is the empty parentheses just say I'm ignoring the parameter. So it's like this, right?
Yeah.
And the reason is blue doesn't return anything that I care about. I just want it to happen afterwards. So you can ignore the value in a promise chain and just treat it as a synchronization primitive. Okay, so blue, I need to await the read of this, and then await the read of stanza 3. Oh yeah, log done when both are done. Yeah, actually you don't even need, is it just blue done? Yeah, I think. Is there a spec for that? No. Logs the second, then the third stanza. So so now we are doing both. Yeah, and if we wanted to do it in promises, we could add another dot then that logs done. Okay, let's look at problem D. So log poem, did I say hand? Oh yeah.
So, right, you can pass without using await, right? That would not really pass the spirit of what it's actually
Wait, you can pass if you do this? No. Oh, if you use promise.all? Yeah, so you could do promise.all. Yeah, that's fine too. Here, let's look at that. Wait. Okay, and then you could also do promise.all and then grab these two reads. So could you describe to me what promise.all does? Yeah, so the maybe mind-bending way I describe it is that it takes an array of promises and returns the promise of an array. Yeah. So, are you saying that's mind-bending? Which is what's happening. And actually, it takes an array of promises or immediate values. The immediate values are just left alone. The promises are resolved. And then the promise returned by promise.all resolves once all of the inner promises have resolved, or rejects with the first rejection. Yes, yeah, so if I did this, for example, there's no guaranteed ordering between stanza 2 and 3. All guarantees that the array I get back is in the same order, which means that here I can log the stanzas. Could actually just do blue, right? Then that should work, right? Logs the second and the third stanza. Oh, I think I actually have to for each over this, right? Stanzas is kind of hard to type. Okay.
I'll also run each read in that array at the same time.
Yeah, so actually the reads start off even before promise.all starts. The reads start as soon as I create this array, because I'm calling read. So it starts the moment like this line is executed. But then they're collected at the point that promise.all is running.
So if you wanted to return in serial, you would use.
If you wanted to issue them in serial, yeah, you wouldn't use promise.all. You could, there are various utility libraries. So you see that we're requiring Bluebird, which is a promise utility library. So we could say promise.map. And what does it take? It takes the values and then the mapper. So we could map these two these two strings to read. And we can give it parameters. I think options, namely concurrency 1, which says only issue one of these at a time. That's rarely what you want. This is kind of useful because you might have like a billion things to request, but you don't want to request a billion things simultaneously. There's various reasons. You might like exhaust all the file descriptors on your machine. And so you might, this function is kind of useful for those use cases. Yeah, so we'll just keep all of these around. I should say, for a case where you've got just a couple of things, I would prefer one of these to promise.all or promise.map. My rule is usually you should repeat yourself at least 3 times before you write something more generalized or more complex. In part because until you've repeated yourself 3 times, it's not totally clear to me that you know what thing to write, you know? Okay, so next, log poem 1 stanza 4, or an error if an error happens. So for this one, now we're going to get into error handling, which is great. This is a weird way to cause an error to happen, I have to say. Log poem 1 stanza 4, but actually don't log this incorrect file. Okay, so if we do it with promises, we can say, so we want the error to be in magenta, so I can do like catch magenta, then blue. Okay, so that's passing. Okay, so this is sort of like classical promise, then dot catch. And then if we wanted to do this with like the most idiomatic async await, we could say await, blue await read that, and then to get the error handling, we'll wrap it in a synchronous try catch. Because if you have a promise that you're awaiting and it fails, then await turns it into a synchronous error. It throws it in such a way that we can catch it with a catch statement. Oh, so yeah, you just do this, blue, magenta. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Yeah, so then actually takes 2 arguments, and the second is equivalent to a .catch. It can take an error handler as well, yeah. Maybe this is even more terse. Okay, and then we could, okay, so this is the sort of idiom, well, classical async, or classical await with try catch. And we could also kind of blend these, and be like, oh, no, actually I take it back. You wouldn't want to blend them. You can, where are we? We're further down. Yeah. I was going to say you could await read and then handle the catch in here. But that's actually, I think, not what we want, because then we'll call blue on whatever it is magenta returned, and that's weird. So I think you want to, in this case, do one or the other. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Read and log poem 1, stanza 3. Thinking about like the way we're addressing poem numbers and stanza numbers, it's like one more level of cognitive difficulty for me. But okay, read and log poem 1, stanza 3, and then read and log stanza 4, or log an error if either of them fail. Okay, so let's, okay, read and log poem 1, stanza 3. So read this, then log it, then read the wrong file. Yeah. Yeah. Which this does reject.
Yeah, no,
But,
I know.
But it's weird.
But it's like sort of a false way for them to
yeah.
I'm just wondering if like if you have to like null or something, would it also like actually error in this case?
I don't know. Probably. Let's find out. No. Huh? Did I not uncomment the spec? No, I did, right? I'm in, oh no, I'm in E. Wow. This crashed the test runner. No, something worse happened. Don't apologize. It's definitely not your fault. Oops.
I guess I'm just wondering, like, in a real case, where our original promise is like trying to read our file from the database,
Mm-hmm.
is it a writing error that like just set back to the wrong file and it's wrong? Or like, what would be the more likely case for rejecting?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it's, I think it's reasonable that, like, some file system read might fail, right? That's a very common thing to have happen. And this is just a weird way to synthesize it, I think. Like, I'm more complaining about the workshop than what the workshop is teaching you to do. Like, I might, what is it? Utils. I honestly might just, if I was writing this workshop, hack something in here where certain files fail, which obviously wouldn't be, it would just feel more natural to write rather than this, where it's like telling you to read stanza 4, but obviously you're not supposed to read stanza 4, you're supposed to read this failing file. It's kind of odd. Okay, so so this is kind of a very strict interpretation of what I've wanted us to do. Read stanza 3, and then read and log stanza 4, and catch any exception that occurs. We can also do the same thing with async await. And then try to catch this. Okay. No, what did I do? Nothing, I thought. Blue, await, read, missing. Oh, I need async. Wow, this should be a better error message. Like, you can't use await in a function that's not declared async. That would be what I would call that error. Okay, so now that's passing. Log the third. Oh, there's another testing to do. No, that's the next one. Okay. Is there a done I'm supposed to print at the end? No. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, last one. And this one, we've talked a little bit about error handling, but I'll pay special attention to it. So read and log poem 1 stanza 3, and then read and log stanza 4, or log an error if anything goes wrong, and always log done. Okay. Yeah, that's cool, actually. So let's, and this is going to be a case where I think async await will be much nicer. I think in the previous examples, it's just kind of been like, here's another way you could do it, but this here I think it'll actually be a clear win. All right, so I'm going to read 3 and then read the wrong thing. Okay, so read both of those. Well, wait, let's do read and log poem stanza 3 and then read and log stanza 4. Okay, so then read that. Then we'll catch any problems and magenta them, and then we'll log done. What did I miss? I missed this. Oh no. What? Always finishes by logging some done message. Expected this array to have length 1 but got 2. Jesus Christ. 158. I think it's saying I logged 2 things. Wait, console.log.calls. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this with blue. I think I should be doing this with console log. No. Now it's 3. What? Okay, what am I printing? Problem F, log stands at 3, then logs the error, and then logs done. Does it want me to ignore errors or something? And then read and log stands at 4, or log an error if it occurs. Does this not seem correct? Oh, great. Okay, so let's see. Console.log.calls. I assume we're installing a spy on console log. Yeah, we're installing our own spy. Great. And then, okay, so we expect so find all calls to console log that include done in them. Which, why are there 3 of those? That's surprising, right? Expected these 3 calls. Okay, what are these 3 calls? See logged done calls. Okay, so done, 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 done. Why? Oh, I wonder. No, it can't be that. Oh god. Okay, so I'm running my test framework in watch mode, which means that somehow before each, basically it was aggregating these each time it reran the specs rather than clearing it out every time, which I don't even know how that would be. Yeah, okay, weird. So this test suite kind of sucks. But apart from that, this approach is fine. And I think it works if I call blue too. Oh, no. No, this has to be a console log. Yeah, sorry, this is a really frustrating test case. Okay, so we can write it like that, and then we can also write it with async await. And here I think async await might be particularly nice, because we can do flu of that, await that, and then flu of await read fail, and then we can wrap this all in a try catch. And we can add a finally to it, which is like the last part of this try catch construct is finally, and things in a finally always run. Which is pretty sweet, I think. And particularly usefully, things in a finally run even if you return in here. So it can be a nice way to like clean some stuff up, or you're like, I need to do a bunch of like difficult logic stuff, and then I always need to do this thing at the end. Are these exactly the same number of lines of code? Okay, this is longer technically. Okay. Who got to exercise 2? Is there a part of exercise 2 you would like to see?
It wasn't hard. It was just taking that kind of exercise one.
Okay. We're, I think, that time, I believe. So this workshop is, it covers a lot of useful concepts, but it is also covering them in a pretty synthetic way. So if it feels weird, if you're like, I still don't get promises, it's all right. I actually think when we work on Sequelize, it becomes a lot more clear. And then a bunch of other stuff is unclear instead, like how the database is working. Yeah? In exercise 2. So C&D, read and log all the stanzas in poem 2 in order, and log done when they're all done. Reads occur in series, and then here the reads occur in series. Log. D and C, okay. B and C? Okay, so do parallel reads of all of poem 2, and then so B does not have to log them in order. I mean, it happens to be in order, but that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, but I also think the fallback version I did not find the fallback version.
Yeah, so the callback version depends on this async library, which might well guarantee something about ordering. But for the promise version, you like really don't have to care about ordering at all. You can do like file names for each. What is it? Log all the stanzas in poem 2 in any order. So we can just map them to file, read file, then blue, and we can do promise up all of this, and then log done. Yeah. And then if we call this read and uncomment the spec, sorry, what are we on? B? No. This is problem B. So the difference is the ordering, and this, so for example, this came in out of order, but that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you want to see problem A? Yeah. Log stanza 1 and stanza 2 in any order, and then log both when they're log done when they're both done. Actually, I guess we can just do done, blue, done, blue, done. Done. So there are, especially with async and await, there are unfortunately sort of many degrees of freedom you have when picking how to write a promise chain. My general advice is to, if you have like a sequence of promises you want to have depend on each other, and particularly if you need to collect data from a couple of promises to like perform some operation, async and await is probably your best bet. If you have sort of a pipeline of operations where you're taking one piece of data from an async call and then doing some things to it, especially if those operations might be async, then what's that? Oh yeah, if we did this with async await, it would just be this, I think. Blue await. Blue. I guess if you wanted to, if we really wanted to make an exact conversion, this issues both of the reads at the same time, so we'd want to do that here too. So we'd want to say this one. I did not uncomment the spec. Logs the first and second stanza in any order. Sorry? Didn't it log the first and second stanza in any order? yeah, I'm actually not clear on why the spec is not passing for this one.
I think they're forcing people to promise the top.
No, I think the test just kind of sucks. Yeah, does it work with expected Tevel input 1 but got 0? Oh, I didn't log done. Is that the thing? Oh, that probably is the problem. Right. Exercise 2, no. I think this is a problem with the test spec. Yeah, there's also this problem with the test suite where, yeah. Mm-hmm. Which problem?
At the last one.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so if any of these things fail, then it immediately stops executing the try block and goes to catch. And similarly here, if any of these stages fail, then the promise chain rejects and jumps to the first catch it finds. It'll log the error in magenta, but it won't like do the next thing, no. In exercise 2, they're talking about master. Wait, what are they talking about?
There's something called master promise.
Master prompt?
Right. It's the promise that all.
Oh, I see. Right, there's. That's what they're calling the promise of an array. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to eat into this lecture too much. So the review video will have the answers for the rest of exercise 2. I guess I could look at them real fast, but they won't have async await. I'll post answers with async await. Actually, I think async and await mostly don't help very much here. They might help here. Or in the cases where they do, we've already seen the way in which they do, which is usually like having a finally block can be very nice. And I think actually the review video points out that Bluebird promises you can do a dot finally on them and get similar behavior. All right. Any questions before we go on to Karen? What's the lecture on? Stabilize. Oh, stabilize. You're gonna get to use all kinds of promise magic for the next forever. Yeah, for a little while. Well, except for Express middleware. Okay. All right, great. So why don't we take like a 5-minute break and come back, and Karen will regale you with tales of databases.